Dan Pleuss, it's a pleasure to have you here today on the Simplifying Entrepreneurship podcast.
Thank you very much, Pete. It's my pleasure to be here. I'm looking forward to chatting with you.
Me too, and it's all around how I started business back in 1994 with my first franchise and, talking franchising today. And, franchising, for those of you listening, is such a viable way to do business. And I'm excited to talk to Diane here today about her experiences because you've been doing this now as a business broker for franchises since 2004. Am I right on that, Diane?
You are right. I never expected it, but I love helping people, matching people, and sometimes encouraging them to look another direction. But it's rewarding, it's fulfilling, and I have chosen to stay.
Yeah, and that's part of my past as well. I used to be a business broker and helping people find the right business, setting up the right fit, and it's such an interesting business as we're talking to entrepreneurs. And it's like you're matching them up, right? You're the matchmaker.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. I ask them about their goals, their skills, their interests, really their why. Why do they want to do it? Because if they don't have a good reason or a big enough why, they're not going to do it, or it's not going to be the right time. So that's really a motivating factor, a driving factor.
Entrepreneurship isn't for everyone. It's just not. And if you're thinking right now, and I know a lot of people listen to this are already entrepreneurs or already business leaders and stuff like that. But thinking back, and if you're not a current franchisee owner, but why is franchising really sort of becoming a good alternative to owning a business, whether if you're in career and you're looking to start a new business, or maybe you have a business and you're looking for a different one? Why would you pick a franchise over just going out there and starting or looking to buy an existing independent business?
Well, it's certainly one option. I believe people look at franchising because they like the infrastructure, they like the systems, the support, the plug and play, if you will. They can get down that proverbial road further and faster. They may have great business skills, management, comfortable hiring, firing, training, read financials, all of those types of things, but maybe they don't have that big idea, or they just don't want to do everything. And a franchise could be a very good fit for those people that appreciate that and want that head start.
Yeah, and I mean, I remember when I bought my first franchise, which is now no longer around. The business still exists, but it's not under that franchise anymore. And when I was looking for a franchise, I just got out of business school, and I had a few dollars in my pocket, not a lot, but I had a few dollars in my pocket, and I said, "Here's the amount of money I have to invest in a business. Now, what could I find?" And in those days, we went to Entrepreneur Magazine. We started looking through Entrepreneur Magazine because we didn't have much internet at that time. And, you'd be flipping through and saying, "Oh, I like this, I like this." Do your discovery with the franchises and then sort of settle down. And so I found one and I went and I did my training and I came back. And that business today still goes and is strong as ever. And it just shows that, even though the franchise itself is no longer, the business idea, the concepts, the core, everything that I got trained on is still operating and still rolling through. I don't own the business anymore. I've since sold it, and that person's had it for the last 12 or 13 years and doing ever so well with it again. So, sometimes it's just getting off to the start in something like that and getting everything rolling. Other times you're buying, like my next door neighbor at the cottage had a couple of McDonald's stores, which is, everybody knows that name. So some franchises are very recognizable, and others, like the one that I owned, aren't as recognizable. Tell us a little bit about the differences between when you're buying a proven name that everybody is sort of a household name in a franchise compared to one that maybe isn't.
Sure. Well, obviously, when you look at McDonald's, that is a household name. It's been
Mm-hmm.
around 50 plus years.
Mm-hmm.
It has minted more millionaires than any other
Exactly.
franchise. However, not everyone can afford it. Not everyone has territory available. And it's not right for everyone. And sometimes I'll challenge people. Sometimes people will say, "Oh, I wish I had the money that I could invest in a McDonald's." And I'll quiz them a little. I'll say, "Really? Would you want a business that has that many employees? Would you
Hmm.
want a business that is pretty much 24/7, close to 365? Are you comfortable managing managers and teams and hiring and training consistently? And then they go, I don't know about that. That's maybe more
Yeah.
people than I want and maybe more hours than I want. And I'll say, okay, well then what do we like about McDonald's? And we like how they've solved certain things and the systems and the vendors that they have to make it easier. Well, let's look at a business then that has the hours that you would like or the right number of employees or in a space that you would like. Everyone thinks that food is pretty sexy and exciting, and yet it can be very difficult and very
Hmm.
challenging. It's one of the few industries that most franchise companies want you to have experience. And the experience is not that you can work the drive-through or that you can flip the burgers. The experience is that you're familiar with the hours and the challenges that come with managing that number of employees.
Yeah, and that's all part of what you do as a business broker, of setting up the right fit, asking those questions and digging into their personal wants and figuring out what it is sort of their 5, 10, 15, 25 year goals are, so that you can match that in with a franchise that's going to run along with that. And I think that's such a cool part of that matchmaking. When we look at that, one of the big things that I always dealt with too when being a business broker was, what are your financial goals? Like, what is it that you need to operate your business, and what is it that you need to operate your family, and what is it, those kind of things. When we start digging into those sort of questions, how can franchising help people achieve their financial goals, Diane?
Well, one of the very nice things about many franchise companies is they do have what's called financial performance information in the legal document, the franchise
Mm.
disclosure document. So you can use that as a starting point to see what others have done. One of the beautiful things is that franchising is pretty transparent.
Yeah.
So first you're going to learn about the franchise company, the training, the support, their digital marketing, the founders, the vision, all of that. And then you're going to have the opportunity to talk with franchisees. So you can ask them about how they got started, how long it took them before they hit break even. You can ask them about employees. You can ask them all these questions to verify everything that you've seen and learned so far. And you're going to be looking at them and saying, gee, I talked to Sam, and Sam's pretty sharp, and Sam's doing really well. I don't know if I could do as well as Sam. But then I also talked to Mark, and Mark does all these other things. He golfs a lot
Yeah.
and volunteers with this and that, and he just needs to he's making more money than what he did in his corporate job, but he's not that much more motivated. So I think I could certainly do better than him. So you get some data points, if you will. You're talking to business owners. You're going to look at their market size, how long they've been in business, how they're running the business, what their goals are. I can remember talking with one person, and he said he talked to what would be a neighboring franchisee, and that
Hmm.
franchisee loved antiques, and he provided a service business, and he was somewhat the man in the van. And when he was out there working, if that person had antiques, they would just strike up a conversation, and he loved that.
Yeah.
So he was less concerned about how many calls or projects could he get in a day, as well as chatting about his hobby and his interests.
It's interesting because, as a franchise owner, it's still up to you. I mean, you have to live within that mold of what it is they're due, but it's still up to you to go get the business. It's still up to you to, figure that kind of part of your life and your business out, right? Do you want it to be as busy, or do you not want it to be as busy? And you have some control in most franchises around some of that, especially in the service businesses, which is what I had owned as a franchisee. I had a couple of different service businesses, and it was really up to me to say, hey, I'm going to go out there and dig up some more business, or I'm going to take it easy for the summer or whatever the case is. It's an interesting thing, and that's part of that match too. Do you want a service? Do you want a retail business? Do you are you looking for professional services and all of these different things? Because like anything, there's ups and downs to all of them.
Right, right. There's pros and cons, and I think one of the advantages, hopefully, that I offer as a franchise business consultant is that I will make several recommendations, ideally
Awesome.
three. And all of the companies that I present will have territory available. One might be a lower investment, one might be a higher investment, one might be fewer employees, one might be more employees, one might be service based, one might be retail based, one
Mm-hmm.
might be an emerging business, one might be an established business. So we're looking at this, and usually people are surprised at A, how much they'll learn about the business, but also B, how much they learn about themselves. And
Yeah.
sometimes they say, well, I told you I wanted this, but now that I'm learning about it, and how did you know you presented this other business, and I actually like this other one better, which you picked up on something there. So that's part of it is most people simply don't know what they don't know. So the challenge is to keep an open mind and explore and understand, but do it through your lens of what are your goals, what skills do you bring to the table so you can be happy and you can be successful.
That's awesome. Well, thanks so much for spending some time teaching us a little bit about franchising here today, some of the ups and downs of franchising. And, Diane, if anybody wants to get in touch with you and learn a little bit more about franchising and talk to the expert who's been doing this since 2004, how do they do that? How do they go about getting a hold of you?
The easiest, if they would like to schedule a call, would be to go to quickchatwithdiane.com, and Diane has one N. People can also find me on LinkedIn, as I'm quite active there and try to post regularly and can get a feel for me and my background. And that is simply Diane Pleuss, the franchise fitter. Pleuss, which is not easy to A, pronounce, or B, spell, is P as in Peter, Leuss as in Sam.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, thanks again for spending some time with us and helping us through this idea around franchising and whether or not it might be a good fit for our listeners. We have to leave it up to them, of course, but if they do want to find out more information, make sure to call Diane and she'll help you through all of the trials and tribulations of figuring out what's the right fit for you. Make it a great
Thank you
day.
very much, Peter. It certainly can be a diversification strategy for all those business owners that are your listeners.
Absolutely. Thank you.